Mr. Stewart, welcome to CNBC channel.
Teşekkür. Merhaba.
Merhaba. First of all, what will be the biggest impact of generative AI on the workforce in the next 5 years?
It's very complicated to tell. In some areas, like software coding, it looks like generative AI tools will allow companies to write more and better code, keeping the same number of people they already have. Meanwhile, for example, in contact centers, it does look like there may be a disruptive effect from generative AI. I'm not predicting that we will see thousands of layoffs, but we will probably see some workforce reductions. Meanwhile, in other businesses, such as law, we could see other job losses. Meanwhile, of course, when it comes to making chips, there's going to be job growth.
So AI is a new, now being used almost every field. So how do you personally perceive it used in everyday life?
So there's different uses. Many people are using it for research, writing. One of the interesting examples, my wife is one of the world's leading researchers on women in finance. She had a conversation with a woman in Korea who was really good at her job, hardest working, smartest woman there, but her English wasn't that good. She is using generative AI tools to up-level her English proficiency in Korea, and she's been promoted 3 times this year already. So I think we're seeing a lot of examples where people are able to communicate better, more clearly using generative AI tools. And as I mentioned, things like software coding, one of the examples where people are using it literally hundreds of times per day.
Mr. Stewart, do you think AI is currently being used for its intended purpose?
That's a very interesting question. We're talking about a whole issue around AI, AI governance, AI ethics, plus, of course, as you mentioned already, the impact on the workforce. I will say, I think I'm comfortable in saying this. Right now, there is a perception around the world from governments that too much regulation of AI is a bad thing that will slow innovation. What I am seeing is that companies believe very strongly in AI governance, in AI ethics, in responsible AI. So I am predicting that it will not be top-down government regulation of AI, but bottom-up company-led responsible and ethical AI.
Okay, let's talk about the AI investments. So major companies are investing billions of dollars in AI technologies. Are they positioning themselves correctly in this AI race?
It's actually not billions. It's not even tens of billions. It's hundreds of billions of dollars just this year. It is, I'm 60 years old, it is the most remarkable investment I have ever seen. One thing, though, that I think we want to keep in mind is that these companies are investing not just for the large language models that we have today, which are largely text-based. Instead, they are thinking about the next generation, something called agentic AI, and even the generation after that, where we may have reality-based, video-based AI that uses thousands or millions of times more data than our current text-based AI. So I think that they are future-proofing their data centers, and they are investing now, not to meet today's demand, but to meet future demand.
This is another topic, cost of the using generative AI. So do you think the cost of the using AI is reasonable? So, and do you foresee it become free in the future?
There are many costs to generative AI. There's the cost for large companies building data centers and all the software and development. I think that is going to continue to be hundreds of billions of dollars per year. But then there's the cost to businesses and consumers. I believe that very much like streaming video, there will be a model where you pay something. There will also probably be a free version. So yes, I think there will be versions of generative AI that are either free or almost free, but there will also be premium versions where you will have to pay more. But even then, probably not very much. I mean, for video, you pay what, 10 or 15 US dollars per month? I think something like that for generative AI, at the high end, may be what consumers are looking at.
So chip shortages in the AI hardware are major issues. How is the problem affecting the innovation process of the global technologies giants? So do you expect new manufacturers to enter the space?
So it's complicated. There aren't really chip shortages like there were in 2020. In 2020, there were supply chain problems, there were fires, there were droughts, there were earthquakes, there were ships in the Suez Canal. The problem now isn't so much that there's shortages as there's too much demand. They can't make these chips fast enough. That capacity is increasing. Your question of will we see new companies enter this, the answer is almost certainly yes, but it's going to take time. Right now, almost all of the AI chips in the world come from a single manufacturer. I believe we will see more manufacturers, but probably not until 2027, 2028. So the current supply constraint will only ease over a multi-year period. One question is going to be where? Right now, almost all of these chips come from Asia. We are going to try to make more of these chips in Europe. We're going to try to make more of them in North America. But once again, that's going to take 2 to 3 years.
Mr. Stewart, with everything shifting towards AI, will be the share of cybersecurity, cyber attacks, investment in total corporate investments increase?
Yes, I expect the share of corporate investment in cyber to increase. Now, it's been increasing anyway for the past 20 years. I expect it to need to increase even faster than usual. We have publicly available data that cyber criminals are using generative AI tools to launch attacks on companies. Companies need to spend more. Companies need to use generative AI themselves to defend against these attacks. In bad news, people who didn't used to launch attacks are now starting to. People who used to launch attacks are launching more attacks. But in good news, the kinds of attacks they are launching are not that different from what we saw last year. So there's more attacks from more people, and that will require, at a guess, 15, 20, 25% more spending on cyber going forward because of generative AI.
So we can talk about the 5G technologies is an important topics. We constantly talk about the 5G technologies, but will be the most immediate change in the daily lives?
In terms of the average Turkish consumer, when 5G launches, probably in 2026, the biggest change you will see is when you look at your phone, it will now say a 5 instead of a 4. I'm actually not joking. For the average consumer, 4G or 5G is about the same. But where the difference comes, and this is a real thing. I am renting an apartment in Kabataş, and I have a DSL copper connection. And it's terrible. This is some of the worst internet I have ever had. There will be a technology called FWA, Fixed Wireless Access. Here in Turkey, I expect that to have very rapid adoption. 5G will allow the telecommunications companies to provide much higher speed, both here in Istanbul, but around all of Turkey, even in relatively rural areas. So it's a broadband effect. You probably know about these already. It's the little boxes you get, you put them in your home. That fixed wireless is one of the fastest growing applications for 5G worldwide, and I expect that to be true in Turkey as well.
Mr. Stewart, thank you for contribution to our interview.
Teşekkür.